Hello, my name is Hal, and I'm a student of traditional Advaita Vedanta. I'm here today with Bede, who is another student of Vedanta and who is also trained in psychology. He is interested in particular in Vedanta's application to human psychology and really to the human condition, the condition we all find ourselves in as being mainly unhappy and suffering people who feel some sense of lack, which is really the condition that Advaita Vedanta is meant to address. So Bede and I met in Anakati near Coimbatore in India, became friends at a 3-year Vedanta program being conducted by Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati there. And we've been having conversations on this particular topic that we're going to explore further here today.
Okay, that sounds right. How are you, Hal?
Good. Very good. Thank you. And you, Bede?
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Now, what the best thing the thing that we can start with is this: is that one of the first things that to do with Swami Dayananda's psychology is that what human beings are actually suffering from. And what he basically says is that fundamentally people are suffering from a very basic self-dissatisfaction. And this self-dissatisfaction has many, many forms. So in our life, have you noticed that we can sometimes feel irritated, annoyed, anxious, sad, hostile? Have you noticed that we sometimes do things, we feel pressured to do things that if we do them, it doesn't help our life, or we feel pressured not to do things that would help our life? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I think I am, Bede. I'm very familiar with all of those feelings.
Right. So what we're pointing to here is a fundamental problem of self-dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I want to clarify is that when we're looking at Vedanta, where does the activity of Vedanta actually take place? So I want to first of all define that quite clearly, because have you noticed that sometimes a lot of people, when they think about Vedanta or they've read its books, might get the strange idea that it's a philosophy or a theory out there that you study.
Right. That's probably common. People think it's a philosophy, a theory, a religion, a subject matter that, like, you might study in college that you're trying to master.
Quite. But what we're dealing with in Vedanta actually is a light. It's a light in which to examine our life. It's a way, it's an instrument, if you like, to be able to examine our life, this life that I have. So it's all about my life, but it's looking at it through the eyes of Vedanta, looking at my life through the eyes of Vedanta. And when I am doing that, I'm practicing Vedanta.
Right. That's a really good point. I think this is what makes Vedanta come alive, when you see that it's really not about an external subject matter. It's a lens through which you look to see yourself, the nature of your own experience and your own existence.
Right. So basically, it's not some airy-fairy, one day I'm going to become a disembodied sort of being of some sort or spiritual thing. We're dealing quite practically with the subject matter as me as an individual who is living in this world. Now, this is an extremely important thing because, and the location of myself as an individual, like my actual life, not theory, is always right now, right here, as I am. So right now, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you here, where I am. Mm-hmm. I'm in Australia, you're in America, and I'm in a certain condition, as I am. Now, this is not a theory. This is my actual life. Now, Vedanta meets, the light of Vedanta meets this right here, right now, and myself as an individual, as I am, right here. And one way to see this, you could say, is that if you look at your life like an hourglass, it comes in one moment at a time. Now, I'm not talking about any of this sort of be in the now business here. I'm just saying that life happens to us one moment at a time. Mm-hmm. And this is our life. But what we can do with our mind is, have you noticed that we can sometimes begin to think about our life? And we can begin to think about who we are. Mm-hmm. Now, what we're doing then actually, when we're thinking about our life as an object that we're looking at over there, let's say, have you ever had someone ever talk to you and say, oh, look, I'm just such a bit of a loser? Mm-hmm. What they've done is they've moved away from their life. They've unconsciously projected an idea of themselves as a loser. And now they're taking this to be themselves. That's why they're upset about it. So they've unknowingly assumed they are an idea of themselves, and then they have a reaction about that idea. Mm-hmm. Or they kind of think, let me think, oh my goodness, this is what I'm like. Now, I don't like this, so what I'm going to do is I think I better become something different. I better become a better version of myself, this whole effort towards self-improvement. Now, Vedanta has nothing to do with that. It has a lot to do with a clear vision of that mechanism, but Vedanta's place is right now, right here, as I am. Mm-hmm. And the place in which, because this is my life. And so what we're going to be dealing with is we're not going to be dealing with theories or ideas about ourselves. We're going to be dealing always with the starting point of Vedanta is right here, right now, as I am. And the end point for Vedanta is going to be right here, right now, as I am. We're not going to be going into some kind of transcendence as such. However, what Vedanta does do is that it transforms myself as I am, right here, right now, as I am. Mm-hmm. Okay? But the transformation that we're all seeking can only occur right now, right here, as I am. It's not some idea that one day in the future I might get it. Have you ever heard of that one? Like, one day I might understand. Right. One day I might become a free person. Mm-hmm. What Vedanta is revealed is a freedom or a sense of well-being that is already here, right now, right here. Mm-hmm. You got any comments to make on that, El?
Well, it sounds like what you're saying is that really, what winds up happening with us is that we create an objectified self-image. In other words, we have an idea of who we are. We think we're a loser, or we think we're a winner, we think we're a big shot, or we think we're a little person, whatever it is. Yeah. And that image is what we take ourselves to be. And so Vedanta isn't so concerned with changing that image per se, turning ourselves from, let's say, being a loser to a winner, or a little guy to a big shot, or something like that, which is the way usually we try to approach it. Rather, Vedanta is about, I think, looking at ourselves exactly as we are. Really, who are we right here and now in this very moment? Is this understanding of ourselves, this objectified understanding of ourselves, is that actually correct, or is it not? Who are we really? Right. Is that fair to say?
Well, I won't go. Well, let's say that the question of who we are really is a rather advanced question, but what is actually happening, what is true for me as an individual at any one moment, that truth might be, right now I'm anxious, right now I'm afraid, right now I'm angry, right now I am. Notice how I'm saying the word am. I am confused. I am angry. I am worried. I am sad. So always I'm in a condition. I'm in a condition. You see what I mean? Or at any one moment, I as an individual is in a condition. And the thing is that often I'm not pleased with the condition I'm in.
Right.
Okay, so with what Swami Dayananda says, this basic feeling of entrapment that human beings suffer from is this pervasive notion that I am displeased with myself. So we've got two things going. There's a self that I'm taking myself to be, and my upset about the self.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't sad. I wish I wasn't angry. I wish I wasn't worried. I wish I wasn't bored. There is a fundamental, to human beings, a fundamental self-dissatisfaction that has many faces, like anger. It's all the same problem. When I'm angry and I don't like, I guess I wish I just didn't get angry. I wish I wasn't angry. I wish I wasn't sad. I wish I wasn't confused. I wish. There's a fundamental self-dissatisfaction so that I am displeased with myself. Do you see how there's two things there? I am displeased with myself. Right? Now this fundamental self-dissatisfaction we are bubbling with. Right? And also, not only that, Swami Dayananda says that besides the self-dissatisfaction, which is always involved self-objectification, as you just pointed out, I'm looking at myself as an angry person and I disapprove of it.
Right.
Or am I looking at myself as a magnificent person and I approve of it? You know, this obsession with feeling good about myself, have you heard people say, I just want to feel good about myself?
Sure.
So they believe that they're a self that they're displeased with, and because they're displeased, they want to feel pleased with.
Yeah, there's a whole industry now devoted to helping people feel better about this image of themselves.
Yeah, there are even some psychologists that believe that mental health is being able to blow up this mental image of yourself so that it's nice and so that you approve of it, called self-image.
Well, and that's a response to the fact that it's such a problem for so many people, this feeling of self-dissatisfaction, of being incomplete or something is wrong with me and so forth. So I think in Vedanta is also addressing that problem, but it addresses it in a very different kind of way.
Quite. So what we have is this feeling in ourselves that's not all is well with us.
Exactly.
It's a kind of like a whatever. And also, what Swami Dayananda says, besides this fundamental displeasure with myself, there is this I am insecure. The experience of me being insecure, fear. And this and what we would call in the West, basically this fundamental self-dissatisfaction that is always humming in the background. There's a German word which is a magnificent word. It's called angst. Angst, and it refers to a kind of a psychological misery. Do you see what I mean? And
yeah, that's a great word because it sounds very much like what it means.
Yeah, I love that. I love this word. And this angst is a kind of an unhappiness, even if that's always in the background. Now, what's interesting psychodynamically is this. When human beings are miserable, innately, but not in terms of their experience of themselves, not their reality. We're going to make a difference. We make a distinction between experience of myself and the reality of myself, right? But we're not denying the experience. That right here, right now, as I am, I often find myself as a suffering individual, suffering this angst. But sometimes what happens is I might be suffering this angst, and then someone goes, Bede, I think you're a wonderful human being. I go, really? Suddenly, the experience of myself, it appears that I've been freed from this misery, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And this person who said this suddenly appears extremely nice in my eyes. Now, he might be a salesman trying to sell me something, but that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that when I have this continual sense of angst, anything I find in terms of people or things or activities that free me from that feeling, they become inordinately important to me.
Mm-hmm.
They may have an importance they actually haven't got, but in terms of defending me against this self-dissatisfaction and insecurity, I now have a pressure, a drive. I notice that when I get approval, I feel better. So then I'm going to start to, whether I like it or not, engage in behaviors, what they call desires, a pressure towards whatever is going to solve my fundamental problem.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is so pervasive, it seems, that because there's this underlying feeling tone of self-dissatisfaction, there's a feeling of insecurity, there's a feeling that I need something more to be complete or to be secure or to be better or to be whole. Then we start looking in the outside world for anything that will make us feel a little bit better, which will relieve that feeling, that sense of lack, that sense of discomfort and unease that seems to pervade everything. And that we can fixate on another person who makes us feel better, or we can fixate on possessions, or in some cases, people fixate on various addictions that provide some temporary, or seem to provide a temporary relief from those negative feelings.
Quite, and you see, the thing is that I remember when I was a young fella, I heard this philosopher saying that men lead lives of quiet desperation, and I remember seeing that, hearing that, and going, "Hey, that's me." Do you know what I mean? But of course, I wouldn't mention that to people, because you see, what we're talking about here, how there's a problem even to acknowledge that it exists in our life. Because, you see, I've got notions about myself as someone who is cool, someone who is intelligent, someone who amounts to something. And these lovely notions that I have, that I not only enable me to be a good look in my own eyes, I have to also present it to others so I'm a good look in theirs. These notions act as a defense against me even feeling this sense of self-dissatisfaction.
Right.
Have you ever heard people say, "Oh my God, that person's so insecure"? Have you ever heard people say that?
Sure.
Of course they say it. Because you see, when they're seeing the insecurity in other people, they have a titillating experience of not being insecure themselves. So the very act of criticism of a person like that is a defense against this extraordinary sense of self-dissatisfaction.
Right.
And you see, and like what you say, the thing is that given the sense of self-dissatisfaction, we are driven to do something about it. And normally speaking, what happens is that we either try to fix up our mind, make it positive, make it happy, make the mind happy. You ever heard that one?
Sure.
But I'm the one who's unhappy, not my mind. I'm unhappy about my mind. My mind doesn't actually go, "Bede, I'm in pain." I'm the one who's in pain. Does that make sense? Or I try and seek happiness to other people.
Well, the problem, though, is that, which is, I think, what you're getting at, is we do tend to identify completely with this, with our minds, or with our experience that we're having at any given moment. So when we're having an unhappy experience, then we say, "I am unhappy." right?
You see, that's true as an experience. That's the location of the problem. I am unhappy.
Right.
It's not my mind that's unhappy. You see, as soon as I go in Western psychology, the tendency is to think there's something wrong with the mind, that the location of the problem is mental. But the location of the problem actually is me. Swami Dayananda makes this very clear, that if I become right, then the mind, other people in the world cease to be a problem. That the problem is centered on me, on the self-misery.
Right.
And so what happens is my whole life becomes a striving to deal with and defend myself against this sense of self-misery.
Right. Well, so you could say that it's because of this sense of me being an unhappy person.
Exactly.
That I'm trying to manipulate my experience externally, my mental experience too, to make my mind better. But none of that's really going to fundamentally change anything, because I still experience myself fundamentally as an unhappy person or an incomplete person or someone who's lacking something.
Now that's exactly right. So what we're saying here is that the problem, according to Swami Dayananda, and when he unfolds his psychology, is that the problem is centered on me. It's centered on this individual who is right here, right now, as I am unhappy. Now, this is extremely important. This is the location of the problem. If I think that the problem exists with my mind, with other people, or the world, instead of actually knowing the location of the problem and having that location available to me, I will be busy seeking other things. Now, he says a very interesting thing, Swami Dayananda. He says this thing, he says, you are the problem and you are the solution. Now, when he says the word you, he is meaning, this person here, Hal, who's behind my eyes and ears, who's aware of and talking to you, he's talking about this is the person with the problem. And the location of this is me.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very important thing. And this is what I just simply wanted to go over. I think we make a good start here. That the problem, the suffering that we're experiencing, this angst, doesn't belong to my mind, doesn't belong to other people, and doesn't belong to the world. And next time we talk, we're going to deal with, we're not going to deal with a solution yet. We're going to deal with how we never give ourselves access to where the problem is. And if we never give ourselves access to where the problem is, there can be no resolution, because the resolution is exactly in the same place. Okay?
Okay.
So it's been great talking, Hal. And
great talking to you. I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Okay. Ciao.
Thank you.